All right, and thank you, Scott, for joining me today and allowing me to interview you because I know you said you don't do this often, so I really, really do appreciate that, first of all. And I want to talk about how we met. So we met through Beverly Trotter. Beverly called me one day and was like, "Hey, do you want to come out? Scott is hanging this." I'm like, first of all, who is Scott? What's going on? What is Walls of Hope? And we did that. We met out on, I think it was off of Pennsylvania, and that's when Malcolm X was being hung up. And from that point, I was like, yeah, I'm in love. I remember my child's father at the time, Kobe's dad, he suggested you hang camouflage, whose birthday was yesterday, and picked the quote, and that one went up, and that gave me a deeper sense of Walls of Hope, if you will, and what you do there. So to just do a more of an introduction, at least for the video, for the people there, who I internalized Scott Stanton, aka Panhandle Slim to be, is first of all, one of the coolest motherfuckers I know. Born in Maryland, raised in Florida, between Jacksonville and Pensacola. You lived in Michigan for a while, and then you came here to Savannah, where you live with us now. Globe traveling, skateboarder, musician, husband, father, painter, and activist. And to define activist how I do is someone who, puts their own securities on the line to improve the lives of those who are getting beat up on by the powers that be. That's something I really appreciate that you do in your work. So when I learned about you painting the prisoners, was it in Florida? Painting the prisoners there, down to the women in Savannah who were going to DC to march for our rights there, and you gave away some free paintings for them to be able to hold up and do their thing there. That was very applaudable. Now even I think down on President Truman, Tent City, posted paintings there that the former residents would be able to nod their heads and agree with. It's just like, Panhandle Slim is a real one. You ain't just out here painting, just getting your coins, like you actually out here doing the work. And your art portfolio, that I realize, it depends who's talking about you. So whenever I'm about to do an interview, including this one, I try to watch every video out there on you. I'm gonna read all the articles. And I did that. And so one of the articles, she was saying his work ranged from President Jimmy Carter, whose home his artwork is in. Where is it? There we go. And then also, she said Amy Winehouse, and she said Batman. I said, okay, that's an interesting range. Now, if I had to pick three, which is hard to do, first of all, I would say that his art ranges from Zora Neale Hurston to Camouflage, a local rapper, like I said, here in Savannah, passed away 2000. Anybody know? 2003, I think it was, or so, maybe before that. And even Jesus. And something else that I love, that even if any of y'all, if you have any amen worthy quotes, you'll put that on their board, with or without permission. I mean, I said something about Nike one day. Nike was in the news, and it's like, boy, I knew it. That was on a board, and that was traveling around in your art shows too. I love it. Something else that I really respect: you don't wait on no gallery, no museum, no city council for permission or invitation. You just set up shop and do your thing. I love that. And that's a very teachable moment for any artist, whether you are a painter, a singer, a dancer, a chef, or a writer like myself. That's a teachable moment. Just to don't wait on permission, just do the work. Do what you got to do. We're a lot alike. So if I think about from us swimming from the Gulf to the Low Country, from one seaport to another, deep South through and through, right? My first question being, do you think people from growing up in port cities, do you think we're a little different? We're a little special, one more special? You've been more places than me, so I'll let you.
Simplicity, yes. Yeah, but you need more an answer, of course.
Okay.
So as you've done and traveled, and I've traveled all over, and I used to just think everything's special, like every place is a little weird. But I was kind of to tell myself that to feel better. But now I can admit, yep,
It is.
we are, yeah.
It's that water.
I don't know if I can cuss. I mean, I unfortunately do that a lot, but yeah.
Yeah. Another similarity.
We're special fucked up. Yeah.
Another similarity. I learned that it was at the Kaya, the Kaya Museum, and I think it was like when they were unveiling the thing or whatever. Anyways, the mayor was like, "Let me get him before he run out of here," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that in and out. Now you see me, now you don't." I do that too. That's a now another one. You do a lot of James Baldwin paintings and quotes, and something that he said that resonated me with that was he was like, I can't belong to any specific organization, where that's the NAACP, the Nation of Islam, none of them. I visit, I listen, I learn, and then I move on. Can you relate?
Definitely, yeah. And that's it. I'll learn and listen, but I don't want to be part of any group because that's just narrow. They'll bring you in. It's a big world out there. Like a friend told me one time, it's like, if I was really into gardening and it's just a group of people into hoses, I don't want to be part of that. Because all they're going to do is talk about hoses. Yeah. It's like it's a bigger world. Yeah,
it's so much. Yeah. I agree.
And then everybody starts fighting and going back to it. I'm just going to go ahead and go do what I do. Y'all stay and fight, and that's it. That's art. Yeah, yeah.
Where another thing, Jimmy was like, I really admire about him particularly. He's so firm in his beliefs. I don't know if I can ever be that way. But it's like, in another word I would describe it as is like free, especially if I consider Nina Simone's definition of freedom. That's somebody else you paint off to Nina Simone. She says, like, freedom is being without fear, having no fear. And then I think about your art, and it's like, and you art it up when in terms of like class, race, and even God. Like, those are things in the Deep South. They'd be like, don't talk about it. Were you initially like hesitant? Like, did you tiptoe into painting about those things, or did you just, it needed to be said, and you just dove in?
Yeah, I just dove in because of course, I mean, life. But when I really like started putting paintings up around Savannah, it's just easy to do. Like, this needs to be done. But with huge respect to a community that maybe I didn't know about, but I did know. But as far as paintings around Savannah and black people going on walls, it's a history that white people didn't learn, black people didn't learn. It's that simple. And it's time that it stops, And yeah, I could just go on and on.
But you should.
Yeah, yeah. Get myself in trouble, and that's good. That's okay. Yeah.
You ain't scared to get yourself in trouble? Because that's hard to do when our money is on the line. It's like, if I say too much, they might not mess with me. If they don't mess with me, I don't get paid.
Well, it goes back with your tiptoeing question. I was brought up to do that, so maybe I was doing a little bit, but I wasn't. It's like, yeah, fuck you. And they try to control you. I mean, that Malcolm X painting we put up came down pretty quick.
Sure did. And Nina Simone did too.
Yeah, and that was a whole nother ball game. But we did it, and I know that change has happened because of that. I just know it. I didn't get permission. Made those people like the. I guess it's the fancy people and their little things, and they make the decisions.
Yeah.
And it's white men.
Yeah.
And I really was shocked when I went to one of those Metropolitan Planning Committee things. That it was all white men. But I wasn't shocked. But I was pissed. And we made a big change there because we threw the loop at them. Everything they said, this one man got all red and mad, and he's like, "This is not about race." Wait, what did you just say? So, and then I think he stormed out, and we all were like, okay. But it's pretty easy to put it in front of their face, and they get mad. Yeah.
Let them show themselves.
Yeah, they show themselves. So that happened. But things have changed in that department. I haven't been back there in a while, but I've heard. Yeah.
Being willing to disturb the peace, is that generally your personality, kid from a childhood?
Yeah, because it's such a narrow world. There's so much injustice, and that would go back to the skateboarding thing. I come from a skateboarding generation to where skateboarding is not what skateboarding is now.
How so?
You definitely are going to get your ass kicked just going out skateboarding, and it's always by somebody in a truck. And I mean, there's no joke, and that's you learn to navigate your world differently and see. I mean, I knew trails to escape. It really was, and that's back at the port city, and that was kind of that happened a lot in the states everywhere, but
Mm.
definitely on the Panhandle where I grew up, rednecks. Just I knew, yeah, those dangerous people, but I
Mm.
learned how to deal with them, and I'm not afraid of them.
Mm.
Um, so
You believe in zodiacs?
what's that?
Your zodiac sign. I'm a Pisces.
Yeah, I
What,
definitely do. I
what's your sign?
Gemini.
Gemini. So what they say about Geminis, you think it's true about you?
Well, my wife's a Gemini. We're very different,
Ooh.
but she's right on the edge, and I'm smack dab in the middle because a
Okay.
lot of people like Francis Johnson, he's a Gemini. People I meet that I connect with, like, okay, I get it.
Hmm.
Oh, we just kind of do our thing.
Until you're the other person.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I'm pretty much who I guess that's it. I'm who I am, but
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with who I am. But yeah, I don't. There's not too many. I don't think there's two people really, but there might be. Yeah,
What
but I'm
about?
a Gemini. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
I believe in it. Yeah,
I do too. I do too.
I'm a
20%.
mess. I know that. Yeah,
I
yeah,
always say it's nature and nurture, right? So
yeah,
it's like we got our zodiacs. It couldn't help what time I was born, what part of the world I was born. That's the nature side. But
yeah.
then life throws stuff at you and how you react to that and what's
Hmm.
thrown at you,
Yeah.
that's going to determine some things too. So it's the
Hmm.
nature nurture. So now going back to that, if I think about like who you were raised by, what traits do you gather from them?
A lot. Um, I believe my mom was more. I mean, in their upbringing, the man was very narrow. He's who he was. Um, but my dad's deep. He
Mm.
grew up in D.C. without parents really, but didn't tell stories. But he'd tell a story about going to get a coffee or candy.
Mm.
But from the house to that candy, the point is, I went to get candy. But the story he tells in between, whoa, like
Mm.
deep, deep stuff, and a lot of in his day, very, very deep race stuff. But he was part of that community, and I learned that without him trying to teach me.
Mm.
And same with my mom. When I was the baby, we moved south, and they were tripping out in Jacksonville, like what was going on. But I didn't know, but I was aware of what they. So I think I learned from my dad. He was a Marine and just a hard
Mm.
worker and made stuff happen. I learned to, like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it,
Mm.
whether it's a thought, like, and
Mm.
that's what he did. Um, and then my mom was very artistic,
Mm.
thinker, um, a dancer. Um, but I mean, I think I have to tell the story about my dad, and this really, really stuck with me. And it's that thing, like, this has to be done. So in Pensacola, and I think this was 78, which seems like a long time ago, but it's not. Not for this.
Mm.
So in our neighborhood, a black family moved in, and then within days, on the garage, something about nigger was written, all just bad.
Mm.
We're on our way to church, and we see it. It's like a TV clip or something, like slow. My dad
Mm.
pulls back,
Mm.
look at it. Dad puts it in reverse, doesn't say anything. And he's a really cool, like, well dressed, just smooth guy, and reverses back, goes home. And you didn't really question your parent. You just like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
So it was all slow motion. Goes in the house, comes out with some stuff, and goes back. He's like, we're getting that off before they wake up. Or nobody, just like, I don't know exact words, but it was kind of that thing of like, but he did it. And I think, wow, like,
When he said we're doing it, who was the we?
he did it and we watched.
Okay.
But I think that we are like, and I took us like, he didn't have to, like, he could have just been mad, but but just doing it, yeah. So that really
That
sticks with me.
yeah, how could it not?
And he was already an outsider. That's the thing, that culture. It's like different reasons that he was an outsider, but he did that, and he was putting himself out there. Um, the community put that message up
They
to scare
did.
these
Your
people.
own
Yeah,
neighborhood put that
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
that already shows how outside he
yeah,
was.
yeah,
And then your mom was a dancer. What
yeah.
else was her artistry?
She made uh, later in life after raising 5 kids, or
Mm.
and not she was still raising us. Um, she did floral arrangements. Yeah, so she had a little business in the backyard, in the back, called Celebrate. So that might be part of what I do. It's just like
Yeah.
making it happen. And she wanted to do that. So yeah,
I love
so it's called
that.
Celebrate. Yeah.
It's
So I remember
in y'all
working with her.
backyard?
Yeah, in a little room like
Like
off
your
to it. Yeah, yeah,
shed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I
Your
never
garage.
put that together. Yeah. So but her creativity, and she would make stuff for my friends, whether it was skateboard stuff we needed, or my other brother was in bands, and she'd make guitar straps, or real creative. Yeah,
That is.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
And then now from nature on to nurture, in some of the interviews, I noticed that you would say that your art was influenced heavily by two particular people, Howard Fincher?
Finster. Yeah,
Finster,
yeah.
Howard Finster and Wesley Willis.
Mm-hmm.
I dove off into understanding more about those people just based off. If you point out two people, let me see who these two people are. Love them.
Yeah.
Love
Mm-hmm.
folk artists, which you don't identify as one, but
Yeah.
and then Wesley, from his schizophrenia, being
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed there, growing up in Chicago, black man, punk rock artist,
Mm-hmm.
and even creating his own art. And I saw a few similarities there. He would sell it for $20, $40, whatever you want to give me here, get it for free.
Mm-hmm.
But how else was your art impacted by those two people? Because you mentioned that they
Yeah.
impacted you, but in none of them did I read or listen or hear how.
Well, the Finster is I saw the visual and was attracted to it, and even his weird like religious things of like
Mm.
I think the first thing I saw his like you don't have to smoke to burn in hell or something, some weird, just like craziness, but then some little devil, and it just was like, okay, so that attracts me. But then I think he's from North Georgia, and he's crazy. He's a crazy old white man and I think the more I learn about, he's don't need to say much more, but he's very religious, and too
Mm.
like he might be Pentecostal preacher or something, but anyway, so that. But then Wesley, I could just go on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
That man is very dear to me, very close.
Mm.
Um, I'd say a best friend, and yeah, think about him a lot.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Wesley. Yeah. And you always say, I ain't a folk artist. I paint for the folk. I paint for
Yeah.
folk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like in your paintings, they all feature these bold statements, vivid colors, bold statements. And to me, and they feature famous folk, yeah, and Joe Blows,
Yeah.
regular degular folk.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's Krak and Teet. So, my
Yeah.
brand is called Krak Teet. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
do. We, connecting with and highlighting, emphasizing ordinary people, but the extraordinary things that they do
Mm-hmm.
that make all of this function, make all of this work, all of us people to hear. So it's like through your art, through all of these people, and through all of these sayings, you're saying something all in
Mm-hmm.
all. What is that?
It would probably go back to like Wesley. Wesley Willis, he like had albums on like this guy Rick Rubin is American, like he did Public Enemy. He did
Mm-hmm.
big time people like Tom Petty, and Wesley had an album on this thing.
Mm.
So Wesley knew all these people, but couldn't. He equally would go into like a Subway and be like, "You're an artist. You're a sandwich artist," and they were the same to whoever. And I learned like, whoa, I want to see the world that way. Um, he'd just be psyched, and he'd probably be more psyched because it's like, and you're going to make me some food,
Mm.
and I'm happy. Like he really didn't care about like celebrity names or
Yes.
um, with a band one time, and this is one of my wife's the same way sort of, and we were in a band together, and we were in Chicago, and Wesley was with us, and we were meeting these big time people that were going to really sign us and wine and dine us, and I was kind of like, cool. So I went out, and I liked what I was hearing, like this is it. But Wesley and my wife was in the band. They went and sat somewhere else,
Mm.
and I went over there and I said, well, why aren't y'all sitting with us? Wesley said, that man is an asshole. And it's the truth. Like, and he was, and he is, and I don't want anything to do with that. So,
And I ain't gonna pretend.
yeah. And Tracy, my wife, Tracy's the same. Like, that man is an asshole. Yeah. And you will become an asshole if you go that way. You know, and that's it. Like, and with things like that, and business that I've done, whether it's skateboarding or this, like, I've learned through my art, this is too precious. I'm not going that route. I'm just going to keep doing what I do. Yeah. So, and that's why this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. I had just a couple more. So one is like we're at the TCU, right? So it's like you take up space in a way that buku artists would love to do, like you in our homes, businesses, the streets, just everywhere, TV, magazine, newspapers. So I'm gonna say famous, so famous folk just post their pics with their Panhandle piece, and they're grinning from ear to ear. But to you always just say you shrug at the money aspect. Now with that, do you think that is that necessary? Is that a privilege, or is it both?
Wow. It, all I know is it's working good because it's very organic. Other routes haven't worked, and then so it's very, very lucky. Um, Definitely not a privilege. I mean, I'm dirt poor, but I'm doing the best I've ever done just because it connects. But I've never, to my detriment, never cared about money. Thinking about when I went up to the Civil Rights Museum one time, he brought a painting to them, Miss V, and she's like, "You giving this to us? Like, are you financially set?" And I just kind of laughed, like, and to me, it's almost like that's an offensive question, but it's like, no, like, and I get mad at money talk, like a lot of time people will say, how much are they? And I'm like, whatever you can pay. And the first thing, I don't want to offend you. I was like, you want the painting? I'm not offended. Um, if you start talking crazy money and the blah blah blah, that's I start to get offended, and almost like that. So it's very deep, but I look at things much different. Um,
No.
it's weird. I'll see. I also have this deal where I just tell people, and a lot of times I say, I'll leave it here. You just leave whatever you can. Kind of like you don't have to worry. And I wish in some ways this would be a great documentary, but like from the window of my house, I'll see somebody ride up on like a scooter and then like push off a big painting or in a wheelbarrow or something. But it's always the nicest car that pulls up. And then I go look at my little slot, it's like $5, or something. And it's just, but I don't care. But to me, it's socio, it's interesting.
And you studied sociology,
Yeah,
didn't you?
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I can put together some paintings. But also, I paint. Luckily, I paint other people's words. It's like I can't get uppity, like I'm some. But I guess
you
I pick
curate it.
them. Yeah.
That's part of the experience too of buying your art. It's like it's not just about Flannery O'Connor and what she's saying. It's like I know she's a piece of a puzzle of also Elton John and Georgia O'Keeffe, and who you choose and what you choose of their sayings. All of that plays a role into the piece. Yeah. And it's like, and I want a piece of that experience. That's beautiful.
And that's the dream. You wish it was like that, but it's not like that. And people still will be like, this is an interesting thing. I think of.
And that's the ones we just go sit in the corner by because they're assholes. So I'm gonna just go sit in the
corner.
Yeah.
And I've never had nobody's ever asked me, why do you paint so many white people? But they've definitely asked, why do you paint so many black people? I was like, have you looked at my paintings? Like, but it's all they see is black, and in negative ways, the way they're coming at me. Eric is here, and then the walls of hope I put up. Trying to think. It was actually a second one. It was Steve. No, I'm not sure who it was, but it was on Rosetta's Lounge on Waters.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was first.
Was it Tupac? No, I can't remember who was over there.
It was Al Green went up.
Okay, Al Green. Okay.
And it went up, like I was putting it up myself. But it goes back to that Pensacola like in that redneck and the
Mm.
skateboarding thing. I'm putting it up and a truck drove by, and I still have trauma with the trucks, like in that sound. Like
I,
I'm looking, and that's real, real, real. So but I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna do what I do. So I'm putting it up, and then they go across the street and park. But I got my eye on them. They're looking, and I'm like, don't worry about that. Just do
hmm.
what you do. Then it pulls around. And it's got that sound, and it stops in waters and says, "When are you gonna put one up for us?" And it was a white man, and I'm like, oh fuck. Like in my head, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, just deal with this. And I said, what this? I said, this is for us.
Mm.
And he's like, no. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, when are you going to do something for white people? I just didn't say anything. And I thought on it. And the best way to I've learned to deal is like, this is a human being that's confused or mad or upset. So I said, okay, if you need a white person, okay, go down here, go down. I think it's the one-way streets, Henry. I go down Henry, then take a left on Habersham, and there's a pain there for you. I said, it's Mr. Rogers. And he
Mm.
smiled
Mm.
and he paused. He said, like that. Like he got, like, I think that he changed. You know, it's like, if that's what you need, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was one of those things. If you drove around and look, you might see there's one for you. But all you see is this.
You're looking to
Yeah.
prove
Yeah.
yourself right that you don't think about us.
And
Yeah.
that just freaks me out. Like
Mm.
at this time, people are still hung up. Like the fact that I put paintings up of black people, people get mad because they're, and it just shows it's the mirror. Like, so.
Toni Morrison had the same experience where she said several interviewers always ask me, why do you only write about black people? I can't remember the author she mentioned, but she mentioned a white guy. She was like, y'all never asked him, why does he only write about white people?
Uh-huh. And one of my favorites from her is black art or writing is always used as sociology
Yes,
or a lesson,
yes, yes,
like
yes,
during Black History Month or something. Yeah,
yes.
it's like no, it's never looked at as art or literature, uh, but it is by us. But we know what she's
Mm-hmm.
saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
My last question, if I think about my inner resources, that non-tangible stuff that assists me in my artistry, beyond my capacity to love, because that's the easy one, love,
Mm-hmm.
I think my greatest resource is my curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
What's yours, or one of yours?
Mm, that's it. Curiosity is huge because you that's how you learn. Stay curious. Is that I just quotes are in my head. That's
Yeah,
all
me
I have is
too, me
quotes,
too.
and I'm trying to think.
And
No,
now they means too.
don't be judgmental. Be curious. Um, and I'm working on the judgmental because that's impossible. And I realize the minute I walk out my door, judgment starts,
Mm,
and that's the world we were brought up in, and it's hard to fight that. But being curious, you should be curious and look for somebody to either change your mind or make. And I love that. That makes the world a lot better
it
versus going
does.
out and looking for something to get mad about.
It
Or
does.
and I'd say that's the best experience I've had. Is not getting mad, like working with somebody because they're confused about something, like kind of rambling. But one show I was doing outside, this young white man just got, he was really belligerent and kind of looked at all my stuff, and I could see kind of what he'd see, he'd get madder and madder, and then he just started kind of like going off, and then he came back with like some cardboard and some paper or something, started writing something looking like one of my paintings, and then wrote like, this guy's stealing everybody's money, blah blah blah. And I was just like, well, I'm not even gonna worry about this, but you got a problem, and I don't want you to think that about me because you're wrong. Like, but I went and said, and he's wanting my attention, and
Yeah.
I know to ignore him, but also I'm like, no, this guy's hurt, like something's going on, and I'm pretty sure he was on the sub, something was, he wasn't doing good, but I said, you, that's just not right. said, what? It's like, that statement is not right. And I said, and if you were just watching what was happening here instead of being all mad, you would have realized and saw me. I just gave away 4 paintings to like, it was one little girl or this or that. Like, and I'm not saying that to like get patted, but he froze and he's kind of like, oh, I'm an asshole. And I've just had a really bad day and I'm taking out on you. And it was deep. And he just got really upset and said, I understand. Yeah, we do that. So, and I never took it personal. I know it's your problem. Yeah, not mine. So, but I think that I could have gotten mad. It could have been a bad situation.
It could have been a bad situation. So. But you're the coolest motherfucker I know.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And I appreciate
and it goes back to that growing up. I had to deal with some crazy ass people. I mean, people wanted to kill you. So, and I'm talking about like between Ocean Springs and Pensacola, driving down I-10, going to gas stations, this and that. And I know it's a different experience, but I know that feeling of hatred in somebody's eye.
Yeah.
And I want to kill you.
Yeah.
Just because of the way you look. Yeah.
As people talk about Mississippi and Alabama a lot, driving from here to New Orleans, sometimes taking that I-10 route. I was like, the whole route is scary. Yeah. Florida. Yes. The whole thing is scary.
It is. Yeah. It's real. We could have fun talking about that.
We could have a whole ball.
But then if you go, yeah. And then if you go the other route, like to north, like Starkville, all that, like it's all crazy.
Yeah.
And it's changed. And I really do think I always try to say that because things are messed up, but things are better.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we do know is, Sulphur, Louisiana, I pull off to the gas station, go to the Dairy Queen. The next thing I know, I'm behind the counter. I mean, I'm getting thrown punches, that kind of stuff, and then nobody comes to your defense. And you tell somebody to call the cops, like, yes, call the cops. And then the cops come and they're against you, all that stuff. That's not the way it would be now. I don't,
maybe, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I think about like our gay brothers and sisters. It was almost like them going out, you're asking to get killed. Like you really are asking for it. And nobody's going to help you. That's not going to be the case now. If somebody attacks him, I think we'll all go and attack that person.
Hopefully.
More, I mean, just think about, and this is kind of what I'm saying. Think about it and celebrate that we can see 2 men holding hands walking down the street.
Yes.
If that was the case back then, everybody would have been out filming. It would have been on like Sally Jesse Raphael or something.
No, that's real. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. I'm trying to be real, like,
yeah.
And so really, let's celebrate that change.
Yes.
But we got a lot of work to do.
We got a lot of work to do.
If a interracial couple was walking, that would have been. Did you, somebody's calling somebody? Did you? Now it's like we've done good, but we got a lot of work to do, and we know it.
Yeah.
They're trying to take us back, because that's all they have, going backwards,
But art is the most palatable way to, to consider change and how we treat these children and how we raise them, how we treat these elders, how we treat our same gender-loving people and everybody, like you pointed out, everybody. So thank you for doing what you do and the way that you do it.
Thank you.
And for being here and for being my friend. And for looking at me and arting up my walls and I ain't have no money.
Right. I'm there. And thank you for meeting you that day and y'all helping me. I learned, here's how you need to paint. That's being open. Yeah. And doing it.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. Good question.
Of course. You already know. Oh, dude, it's easy.
I know it would be. If it was somebody else, it would have been somebody else dumb question.